Hello everybody, this is Thomas. It is January and we are now starting month 10 block. We are almost there. I'm so excited. So we are going to do our normal thing first. We are going to do the cutting first. So if you look at page 27, which is your month 10, we are going to take our background fabric and I'm folding it into fours. I'm going to use the stripology ruler, and the first thing we need to do is cut 2 strips at 2 inches wide. So there's 2 strips at 2 inches wide, and then we need 2 strips at 1.5. So here's the 1.5 inch strips. I'm going to set those off to the side. So from the, I'm sorry, we were supposed to have 3 2-inch strips. So for my 3 2-inch strips, I need to cut one strip. We are going to cut 2 inches by 3.5 inches. So since it's already 2 inches wide, we're going to trim this down to 3.5. Line up my stripology ruler. 8. So there's my 8, 2 inches by 3.5. We're going to save this extra strip for piecing. Now from the 1.5 inch strips, we need a total of 4 1.5 by 12.5. So there is my 4 1.5 by 12.5. Now we are going to take our L1 piece here, and the L1 we're going to cut 2 strips that are 2 inches wide. From these two, we are going to set off because it's part of our piecing. Now we're going to go to our D2 print. From our D2, we are going to cut 2 strips that are 3.5 inches wide. Now, from these 2 strips that are 3.5 inches wide, we want to cut 16 3.5 inch squares. And then we're going to save the remainder of one of the pieces that would be about 28 inches for month 11. So out of the first strip, I get a total, I can get 12 out of that. I need 4 more at 3.5. Put my ruler right side up. That would be 3.5 and 7. So that gives me my 16 3.5 inch squares. And then this remainder amount here, we're going to put in month 11. Now we are going to go to our piecing. We are going to take our L1 and our background, and these are the 2 strips that are cut at 2 inches. We are going to take the strips and we're going to put right sides together, and we're going to sew down the long side of those strips. When you have sewn down those strips, you're going to get this. I like to come in and press my seams open. The reason for that is because I find that it lays flatter, and when you press the seams open, don't press it back and forth. Press it going this way. It gets your seam line to lay more straight. And once we do this, now we're going to cut this up. So this will be with my background and with my L1 print, and we're going to cut a total of, we're going to cut these into 2 inch. And now when I come in and I do this, I like to line my line up with my seam line here as opposed to my bottom line. So I'm going to line it up there. And if I'm using a different ruler and not the stripology ruler, I still like to come in and line the line up with my seam. And we're going to cut 2 inch. So what we need, the total amount is, when we cut the 2 inch strips, we need a total of 8 2 inches by 3.5. So these 2 strips together become 3.5 inches wide. And then we are going to need a total of 8 that are going to be 3.5 by 6.5. So those strips that you sewed together, we're going to cut them down for that. So the 6.5 will, and 6.5 will be for, if you look on your instructions, the 2 by 3.5 is this step here. The 6.5 is this step here. And so you're going to cut this until you get a total of 8 of each. So we got 6.5 and 6.5, and then from here, I can do the 2 inch strips. So you're going to do that for each one of your strip sets that you sewed together that were 2 inches wide. Now, after you've cut those pieces, we're going to take our background fabric here. So here is one of my sets that was 2 inches by 3.5, and then my background piece that is 2 by 3.5. We are going to take these pieces and sew them together, right sides together like this. and we're going to sew down there, and I press the seam open, which then will leave us, and this is how the block will look. And so we are going to make a total of 8 of these blocks here. After we've made a total of those 8 blocks, we're going to take our strip set that was 6.5 by 3.5, and we're going to take our background, our D2 piece that we cut at 3.5 by 3.5. So the D2 piece on the wrong side, I am going to mark a line down the center. So once I mark the line down the center, what's important on this one is that when we do our flying geese, which is right here, you can see this at the top, we want the dark piece to be, the background, not the dark piece. The background needs to be facing out. So our flying geese, if we were doing flying geese, if we were looking at right side up, I want this piece lined up like this. So my background piece will be at the bottom. I am going to put my D2 piece on here, and you can see that the background piece here, the D line is going from bottom left to top right, and we're going to sew exactly on this line. Now when you're sewing this on most machines, even if you have a single hole needle plate, sew from this edge to this edge. It will be less likely of your fabric being shoved into the needle hole. So we're going to do that step. And after we've done that, you can see this piece here. So I have my sewn line here, and I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch away from the line. After I cut a 1/4 inch away from the line, you can either press your seam up like this, or you can press it open. I prefer pressing it open. After you've done that, you're going to take your other D2 piece, and you're going to draw the line on that down the center. After you drew the line, you're going to place this piece on here, right sides together. Again, the background piece is at the bottom. Now my line is going from top left to bottom right. And when you sew this, you want to sew from this top piece here all the way down on the line. After you've sewn it together, this is what it looks like. We are now going to cut on a 1/4 inch away from the sewn line, and you can either press it up or you can press the seam open. I like to press my seam open. Now after we've done that piece, this is what a block is going to look like. So I'm placing my flying geese block up. So when we are doing this, we want to make sure that the background piece is facing out, and we want our L1 piece facing in, and we want to put our center collage piece in. So this is what the block will look like. So as I've done in all the other months, I always lay my block out. I'm going to sew this piece to here, this one to here, and this piece to here. After I've sewn these pieces together, this is what my block's going to look like. And now we're going to do the next step. We're going to sew this piece to here, this piece to here, and then this piece to here. And now here is the rows sewn together. Now I'm going to sew this piece to here. Now when I sew this on here, I'm going to come in. So when I'm sewing my pieces, you can see here where my kaleidoscope piece is, and this piece, we're going to line up this seam line here, and I'll fold the fabric back and make sure that my pieces line up. I will pin, and then I will do the same over here, get this seam line lined up there and pin, and your centerpiece should be, your center point here should line up with your center seam line there. After you've sewn all the top and bottom pieces, here is what the block will look like, and I will show this on the back. I have gone in and pressed, in my step of doing all this, all of my seams have been pressed open, so you can see what it looks like pressed open. We are now going to take the 12.5 inch strip. We are going to sew it to both sides. So we're going to sew this piece to here, this one to here. Ta-da! Now we have a finished block. It looks so wonderful. So if you have any questions, let me know. And everybody, I will see you next month. And you take care. All right. Bye.